Have you ever had a tarot reading before?
I don't think so.
Is that duct tape?
Yeah, they tried to fix it.
Oh.
I didn't break it, but somebody else did.
Got it. So this is white sage. For thousands and thousands of years. It's been used in ceremony and ritual and all sorts of spiritual goodness. The idea is that it's kind of like almost like a Clorox wipe for your spirit or for the energy in the room. So it's like in the same way that you would disinfect something before you get started, we're kind of disinfecting.
Kills 99% of all bad omens.
Exactly. We gotta get them out of here.
Malignant spirits.
Clear the area.
And then if you have anybody on the other side, or if you have any guides or even any fictional characters that make you feel safe or protected, please feel free to hold those in your mind. The more helpers we have here, the better. I have some people here with me as well too, so they're helping us out. Hello.
Hello.
So I'll do my little spiel about tarot. The cool thing about tarot is that whether or not you are a spiritual person or believe in spirits, tarot has something for everybody, because if nothing else, it's a really interesting exercise in expanding your mind and thinking about the different possibilities and how you can change all of your possible futures. Because nothing is set in stone. Whether you believe in fate or not, we all have free will. And there may be some things that are divinely guided, but things that are divinely guided are only for our own good. There is nothing disastrous or terrible that is divinely guided that will happen to you unless it has a very, very positive outcome, like we were talking about in the tower. So with that in mind, there's never any reason to be spooked by anything that happens in tarot. A good tarot reader is never going to say like, ooh, spooky, this is your future. No, it's about solutions, and it's about making sure that you're prepared for any changes or conflicts that might be coming up so you can live your best life. So I have 3 different decks. It's totally up to you which one vibes with you the most, which one you'd like to use. So the one that we just used for Rob's reading is the Archangel deck. I usually use this one for folks who had a more conservative or traditional upbringing, because it has slightly more religious imagery, and it can take some of the more gruesome imagery that can be in tarot, and it kind of flips it into a more positive experience. So if tarot is something that spooks you, I would recommend that deck for sure. For example, there is a major arcana called the Hanged Man that indicates kind of a stagnant energy or a spinning of a wheel. It's kind of a gruesome image, so here it becomes decisions. So it's a little gentler in that regard. Here the imagery is all archangels. The suits are all different archangels. Here we have a pony-themed deck. This one is pretty cool. The suits, instead of being pentacles, wands, cups, and swords, we have horns, power, hooves, and wings. And then my personal favorite, and the deck that I use for all of my readings, this is the Wild Unknown Tarot, and it's all ink drawings of various animals. It's like very tribal feeling and very cool. Regardless of which deck you choose, the illustrations will kind of help us interpret what's happening. So which deck is it that you would like to use?
Let's go with the pony one.
The pony one? Okay.
Good choice.
Good choice. That's what Teddy chose too. So, there are 4 suits in tarot, and there are 2 different kinds of cards. The suits for us, using this deck, we're going to have horns, we're going to have pentacles, and I'm going to kind of arrange them in their, like in order, so you can kind of get a feel for how the cycle of tarot works. And now we need a wings card. Where are all the wings? Here we go. So you can get a sense of what these look like. So they all correspond to a different element, they all correspond to different zodiac signs, they all correspond to different numbers, different seasons. The idea is that just as everything in the world has a cycle, our journey to enlightenment also has a cycle, and at any point in time you can kind of look into this cycle and point out where you are. Everybody has seasons. So, wings is the suit of swords. This is represented by air. This is the spring. This is ruled by Mercury, so it's very much about communication, truth, clarity. Conversations and spoken word are typically represented by the suit of swords, or in this case, the suit of wings. We have wands, which is that fire energy. That's the summer. Wands represents a drive for action. It's passion. It's creativity. It's the energy of doing something. These are actions taken. These are decisions made. That's the kind of thing you're going to see from the horn suit or the wands. The suit of power, which is the suit of cups. It's easy to remember because power is kind of a more fluid thing that doesn't really have a physical definition like a wand or a sword would. This represents the suit of cups, and the suit of cups is the suit that corresponds to water. So it's more emotional, it's flowing, it's fluid. Feelings, relationships, those kinds of things tend to come up in the suit of power or the suit of cups. And finally, we have hooves. This is winter. This is pentacles. So winter, very earthy, tangible things. So things that physically happen to you, or things having to do with a career, actual events and situations, you're going to kind of see that come up in the pentacles or the hooves. And again, they can also indicate who we're dealing with. So if those cards are called significators, every once in a while a card will pop up, and I know that it's meant to represent somebody based on the characteristics that it has. So somebody represented by the suit of wings or swords might be an Aquarius, Libra, or Gemini. Somebody represented by horns or wands might be Leo, Aries, or Sagittarius. Someone represented by cups is going to be a Pisces, a Cancer, or what's the third water one? Whatever the third water one is. And then we have hooves, which is earth signs, so Taurus. Oh, it's Pisces.
I already said Pisces.
Aquarius?
I think
That's a water.
No, Aquarius is an air sign.
Oh.
But yeah, we can look deep into them. Anyway, so... alright, cool. Let's begin. And then Major Arcana. Major Arcana are the cards that you traditionally think of when you think of tarot, like the Fool or Death or the Star. Ones that represent more concrete concepts, and each of those are a step in the journey of enlightenment or a stage in the cycle. And they also tend to carry the most weight. So when we're doing your reading, anywhere we see a major arcana, we'll want to pay a little more attention to, because that's kind of where the bulk of the energy is going to be.
Right.
Cool. All right. So if you want to just think about whatever it is that you would like a little bit of guidance on, and hang on to that. Good questions for them to answer are more like, as opposed to like, will I get the promotion, or when will I get the promotion? Something that's a little more open-ended is easier for them to communicate, because there might be factors that we're not necessarily seeing or thinking of. So a better question in that scenario would be like, how do I advance in my career, or how do I find the path that's right for me in terms of my career? So thinking a little more broadly and asking how questions instead of if or when can be more helpful. So go ahead and hold your question in your mind. Don't tell me. Just go ahead and place your palm over the deck. Take a deep breath. Okay. So we're going to start by looking at the past, the present, and the future of the situation, the overall energy, and then we can clarify from there. Oh.
Okay. Who do I think of and who pops up?
And who you buy at the merch shop.
Okay.
Oh, that's great. I love it. And it's interesting too that so far we see what I'm getting just from looking at this. Before we dive into any of the interpretation, I'm noticing a couple of patterns. I'm noticing the overall energy, and I'm noticing the past energy is that more formless. It's that power, it's that emotion, and it translates through Applejack, through the present you, to hooves, the more tangible. So immediately my first thought is some sort of creative process, something you're trying to do, something you're trying to get off the ground. That's the first thing that comes to mind for me when I look at this.
Okay, that's also scary. Man.
So let's clarify. Let's look at past you here. Okay. All right, so when cards are upside down, they're called reversed, and every reader handles them a little bit differently. The way that I like to handle them is, as opposed to reading them as the opposite of what the message is, I read them as things that are reversed are happening inside of you, and things that are upright are happening around you in your environment. So something that is transforming inside of you, like an emotional, like an epiphany or something like that, we would see that in an upside down card. In a right side up card, which is very interesting because we have our clarifier, which we'll look at in a minute, but the overall energy, the past you and the present you are all inverted. It's almost like you've been kind of, I'm almost getting like the cocoon feeling, like all the energy is very much focused inward, like nurturing something, and then when we look at the future, that turns right around and becomes upright, becomes something tangible. So that, first off the bat, is very exciting to look at, and that makes me feel really, really happy for you. Okay, so when we look at the past, we have the 2 of power inverted, coupled with the 5 of horns. So 2s tend to be about decisions, and they also tend to be about balance. Looking at it inverted, knowing that it's something that's going on inside of you, coupled with the 5 of horns, horns being that action energy, that fire energy, the energy of doing something, it's almost like they're at odds with each other, being upside down. Like, here we have sort of an indecision, or like a wishy-washiness, or like not a firm concept. Again, it's that formless, coming head to head with something that very much has a form, has a lot of momentum. We have the 5 of horns, and again, that fire is that creativity, that passion. So I'm almost seeing like a creative endeavor in which you're being held back by your own feelings. Like a creative endeavor in which the drive is there, the know-how is there, the mastery is there, but something in you is kind of reducing the impact of that energy, almost like you're holding back. Almost like maybe you don't have the right balance in your life yet. Maybe you don't have the right balance in how you're approaching it. But past you, I'm seeing as somebody who's really struggling to get going and is not really going much of anywhere. Not a stagnant energy, but almost like a push and a pull. Like an internal force that's kind of like fighting back and forth. Is any of that resonating yet?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I always like to check and make sure that we're on the right track so we can adjust if necessary. Okay, cool. So, and that's interesting too when we look at Applejack. Applejack is the princess of hooves, that pentacles energy, the earthy energy, very tangible. She's the perfect mascot for the suit of hooves because she is that very grounded, that very action-oriented, very tangible energy. And the princess is in the suit. You have the princess, you have, which is the knight. We have pages, knights, kings, and queens. So in this case, a knight is a little more developed than the page energy, where we see the page kind of like rushing into battle, like without a second thought. We see this is a little bit more calculated. You know, we're not looking at somebody who is in a position of mastery yet. We're not looking at a king. We're not looking at a queen. We're looking at somebody who is kind of almost in their, if you were to put it in like human years, it would almost be like the teenager stage of this development that's going on inside of you. So if you imagine this is kind of like those formative years or the formative process of this whole thing, translating to the Princess of Hooves, this is all going on inside of you, by the way. I feel like there are people in your life who have absolutely no idea what is happening, what's cooking inside of you. And we can address that too, because that might be a healthy thing to figure out how to bring that out so you're not carrying that all by yourself, especially when we look at the inverted power up here. We have the whole theme of the situation is of this power, this energy, this creativity, this emotion that's kind of like ruminating inside of you. So I think we will want to figure out how to get that flowing. But either way, present you, Princess of Hooves. Let's clarify. How does this relate? Another hoof. Okay, so we have a lot of pentacles going on here. And again, another 2. That's very interesting. Okay. All right. And this is also inverted. So we look at the direct past, right? We've got your creativity fighting with some sort of like a dampening force inside of you that's related to your feelings. Either it's like an insecurity or maybe some sort of, I almost think maybe like a trauma or something that didn't go well despite your best efforts. I think we were talking last night about there was like a Captain Picard quote that was like, you can do everything right and still lose. And that's like the imagery that I'm getting from this whole situation. Maybe it was something that was out of your hand. And then we move forward here and we have, it's almost as though this has translated to something more solid. So my first thought when I look at that is that here's this energy. Like, I think of PTSD. PTSD is really wicked because once you have a trauma, and you stop processing, everything that happens to you beyond that is not a separate event, it just piles on top of the trauma. It's not getting processed. Everything that happens afterward, if you're not being taken care of, if you're not actively working through the trauma, it becomes affirmation that you thought right, or you deserved something that was coming to you, or it just becomes an affirmation. So I almost see like, here's your creativity at odds with something inside of you, something happened that was completely out of your control, and it turned into tangible proof that you were right, that you couldn't do it, or that you had done something incorrectly. Or I'm seeing, this is all lies. Like, what I'm seeing is this internal dialogue where you kind of almost had this self-fulfilling prophecy of defeat because you had this energy, something happened outside of your control, now it's been cemented inside of you, and it's at odds with this Princess of Hooves. Again, the 2 is that balance, decisions. So, and it's really cool too because we have, these are all, I turned her right side up so I could look at her, but these are all inverted. There's a lot going on inside of you that you are not sharing with people. Like, holy shit, we have your, which is cool because your creative energy is one of the only upright cards on this entire spread so far. That's that thing that you want to share with the world, which is great. We want to see your creativity. We want to see what you make, but people care about all of you. People care about the whole of you. And what I'm getting is that, like, I see all of these feelings and all of these pentacles, like events that have happened to you, feelings that are building up inside of you, inverted. It's almost like I get a picture of somebody who's saying, like, they don't need that from me. Like, they don't need to deal with my feelings, or I don't need to talk about what happened to me because I got this under control. I'm thinking about Applejack, like, insisting I have this under control. I totally got this. And I feel like this is maybe not necessarily, you know, we're looking at solutions here, but this is kind of like a red flag to me that there's maybe like some isolation going on here, that like you're insisting that you got it and you're not allowing people to help you process it. So we can look into that a little deeper, but I think it's really important to remember that your friends, like especially everybody here at this cabin, cares about all of you, not just what you have to offer, but your feelings, things that have happened to you, your history, the whole you. We all care about it very much. So that's something to keep in mind as we go forward. So let's then just take a minute to talk about the overall energy of the reading while I look at the future here. Nice. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so we got double 8s up here, which is really fun. I think we could start by talking about 7s because it will give a little more context to 8s. So up here, I'm holding the overall energy of the reading, the overall energy of the situation. They're both inverted. This is this is like a tornado. I'm seeing the wings and I'm thinking like air, like a tornado going on inside of you. 7s in tarot are the original 7 of Pentacles is depicted as a boy who's just planted a bunch of seeds. He's kind of leaning on his garden rake and he's looking at his garden and he's waiting for his seeds to grow. Like there's seedlings, it's that summer season, nothing is growing just yet, like everything is still too tiny to eat, but he knows he sowed those seeds and he's just kind of waiting. Then moving forward in the cycle to the 8s. 8s are a time where you are seeing that fruit, like that fruit is almost there and it is almost ready to be picked. You're not quite at the 9, which is the end of the cycle, the completion, where you can pick that fruit and you can take it. But 8s tell me that you are very, very close to a breakthrough, and we have 2 of them here. One being that emotion that's going on inside of you, whatever it is that you are trying to process. And then we have the wings, which is the Suit of Swords. That's that air energy, truth, clarity, communication. Being internal, I see it as like an internal dialogue with yourself. I almost feel like I feel like I'm getting a feeling like the solution is going to be, are you familiar with like cognitive behavioral therapy or anything like CBT? CBT is the idea that, and I was talking about this in an earlier reading too, like we have, like an event happens to us, and then we have feelings because of that event. Like the event translates to thoughts, translates to feelings. Thoughts are smack in the middle of it, and we're not often able to catch ourselves and insert ourselves between what happens to us and the outcome of a situation. So we wind up just running around like reacting, very emotional all over the place as people. It's what we do. It's human nature. There's nothing wrong with it at all. But when I see the wings, I think of like you kind of having this internal communication with yourself to write this almost destructive, I want to say like useless, like stagnant energy that is not serving you right now, like a false belief that you can't do something or you're not good at something. I'm feeling like they're suggesting the solution is to try to get between yourself and your thoughts, because you are not your feelings, and that's a very hard thing. That's a very hard lesson for a lot of us to learn. We were talking about this in an earlier reading too. But feelings are good and feelings are very valid, but they don't always necessarily tell the truth. So I think that learning to accept and name the feeling it is that you're feeling while not allowing it to influence this wand energy is kind of like your overall mission here at this chapter of your life, is learning that mastery. So over here in the future position, we have the 4 of Hooves, which is fantastic. Like in the context of this, I'm really happy to see this because, again, the hooves are that tangible, the outcome, the result of something. And 4 is the number of stability. It's a type of completion. It's not as far along in the cycle as a 9, but everything that is stable in the world is made of 4 things, 4 elements, 4 suits. It's very much a solid foundation. Foundation is the word that I'm getting here. I'm seeing this future here, like you very, very quickly too, when we bring in the horns, because that tends to be a push that results in like a quick movement. I'm seeing, and I like too how the horns is on the outside here and now it's on the inside and everything is kind of flipped upside down. That future you has built a very strong foundation for your future creative endeavors with that 7, that planting those seeds. And I think you're going to be planting those seeds. This is like what you've got to look forward to in the future here. Planting those seeds in between actions, in between things that happen to you and the thoughts and the feelings that come out of it, is what is going to get you to a place where you are stable and consistent. Consistent keeps coming up for me too. Consistent enough to produce whatever it is that you're trying to produce on a basis that is rolling, that is reliable. Like I see something happening like every week or every month, or like making a commitment to making something happen at the same time over and over and over. I think you do like a podcast or a radio show. Like if we were to put it in that context, I think of like if you, like, just as a metaphor, like let's say that, you know, you get to a place where you are able to produce, you know, the quality content that you want to produce, and you are able to deliver on it each and every single time, and the fan base grows and grows and grows. What I'm seeing is whatever this future endeavor, I'm seeing you delivering on it over and over and over again. And it is not necessarily about overcoming the doubt or whatever that negative stale energy that lives inside of you, because there's always going to be that little voice, and it's just a matter of which one you're feeding. It doesn't mean that, you know, you can ignore those feelings or you can pretend that they don't have an effect on you, because they do. You have to own that they feel bad. But what I'm seeing is it's not going to have much of an impact on you, because you're going to gain that mastery in working through it over and over and over again. It's not something that's going to immediately change. It's something that's going to take time, little by little by little. What can he do now in the meantime? More hooves. Okay, 7s. Look at this. 7 of hooves, 7 of horns. You have a lot of doubles going on here. Yep. And that very much feels like confirmation. So maybe something that you can do, and let's ask for a time frame too. Like, if in the event that we're able to successfully do this and plant these seeds, when are we looking at these seeds coming to fruition? Ace of hooves. Okay, so I'm feeling like about approximately a year from now, next fall, is when you're really going to see the benefits of this kind of like taking off. Like that's when it's literally going to like be hitting the ground running. That's when it's going to be making that consistent, that whatever it is that you're doing, that's when that consistency is going to fall into line. So between now and then, you have some time to kind of gain mastery and like hone those skills. Between now and then, what I would definitely advise you to do, what they would like you to do, is to practice taking the time to notice how you're reacting to situations, to hear and to name the voice that is talking down to you. I don't know if this is resonating, but if whatever it is inside of you that is not working, that's not treating you well, to take the time to address that and name it every single time. And at first that's going to feel really crappy because you're noticing it more, but the more you notice it, the more you can react to it and move in and address it. So you know how they say it's like always darkest just before dawn? Like it looks like you have some time ahead of you before it's really going to take off, but it is definitely going to take off. Like all of this indicates like very strong success.
You know, that's what...
It's just a matter of, you know, will you take this time, this time of getting ready to reap what you sow, to plant those seeds, to gain the mastery over responding to your emotion. And again, your emotion is incredibly, incredibly valid, but it doesn't always tell the truth, and it's not always in our best interest. So making sure that you are, I don't know what would work best for you, but affirmations can be really helpful sometimes. Like if you can find an affirmation to talk back to that voice, to kind of argue with that voice. If you have something that is tangible, like let's say that the voice says like you're not capable of making XYZ, or everything you make isn't good enough, or something along those lines. Like what is something that you're proud of that you have done that is tangible that you can look at? Remembering that you have done this thing, like, wow, I produced this thing. This is real. I am a content creator and I can do this. And again, when I look at all of the internal stuff, I think another thing that could help is asking for engagement from your friends and from your community too. I think that engaging with the community and opening up a little bit, and you know, maybe sharing what it is you want to do, where you want to go, and making sure that you're, you know, when you find a place that you feel safe to do so, that you are really truly being candid and allowing yourself to be real with these people. I think that's going to help unstick that energy that kind of gets stuffed up. Like I'm picturing like something very sticky or thick, like a river that's backing up. When you talk to people and when you get those feelings out there, when you're addressing things, when you're in in a mind where you are accepting what is happening around you and you're naming it and you're owning it, that will keep the energy flowing more and more. So instead of getting stopped up and backed up and sitting in a rut and getting frustrated, it's just going to keep moving, and therefore this creative energy, this passion is going to keep moving as well, which is going to, all of this is going to culminate in you being able to consistently do exactly what it is you want to do and triumphing over this little voice that says that you can't do it. Does any of that resonate?
Yeah.
Does it help?
Yeah.
Cool. Let's ask one more. I just want to see if anybody on the other side has any just last minute words of advice for you. Look at this. Hold on. We have 3 7s and they're all inverted. We're back again to that power from the beginning, except this time you're owning it. Look at that. I think we were talking in the last reading that we did that people on the other side, the people who are looking out for us, are outside of time and space, so they can kind of see multiple outcomes that are possible for us. And I'm definitely getting a feeling like this is very uncanny. Like, of all of the cards in the deck, like, to see 3 7s all inverted is very strange, in a good way. I feel like it's just really driving home this message of, like, you're almost there, like your garden is like ready to bloom, it's ready to be harvested. It's just, can you move past, can you harness this power, and can you make it work for you? And I firmly believe, and they firmly believe, that you can and you will.
All right.
Good?
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me read for you.
You're welcome.
That was really cool. I love seeing the multiples come up. That's always really fun.
So, what happened? Should I throw it?
What happened to running down?
Come down?
That's the whole fucking point. That's... No, it's going up.
I did.
Oh yeah, give it a fire.
I thought it was gonna blow up. Hey, look, there's some yellow in the ground. No, I did that. I thought it was gonna explode.
Yeah, they're nice.
That's pretty much perfect.
I'll let them cool down before they go in the trash.
Ow. Hey, look over there. So much smoke.
Left the stain, it looked like.
You know, it's gonna be funny. They call the fire
Yeah,
marshal on us.
it'll away in the rain.
Alright, let's go, let's go.
That's funny.
What that means is
We
have to test a couple of them out. I mean, they are pinkies. They should work. And I mean, the surprise that she had in store ain't gonna work unless we get those to work. So I need everybody in here. I'm gonna ask for from count of 5. When I get down to 1, if they go off, the surprise will show up somewhere on this floor. I don't know exactly where, but it will. Alright, so I need everybody. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fire!
Twist!
Woo!
Twist it!
I tried, it's not happening.
Twist it harder!
That was amazing.
Oh God! People using
The chaos has commenced!
Yes, it has! Discord is here!
It's time.
Discord is here! This is awesome! This is awesome! Woo! Oh, he's fine. I didn't see this.
Get over there! Calm down! Keep on moving! Keep on moving!
Hey, should I set up another? Should I set up another here?
Whoa!
Hey, Steven! Should I test another? Sure! Why not?
Whoa! Nice!
Yeah, that's
Oh, sugar!
Alright, guys.
Guys,
What?
just want to let you know, be careful. Do not,
Hit the chips.
guys, don't kick any balloons up there. We do not want to knock anything down, all right? Do not kick any balloons up there.
Alright.
We don't want to knock that. That might be, I don't want to touch.
This is so awesome! Oh shit!
Down there.
Whoa, this all. There you go.
Going down there.
Hey,
Going downstairs. Hey, take some downstairs.
slept in a nest of balloons. He slept covered in like 10
How many
years.
are there?
Yeah, that's right. Baby black balloons by the Goo Yeah.
Hey, it's Minnie Mouse.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, I didn't expect this.
Cabincon balloon pit.
Balloon drop.
Captain who?
Balloon
Stretchy, I love
drop. Yeah, he's looking.
Oh, yeah.
This is awesome.
this. This is amazing.
I know. This time. Whoa. We should be holding there.
I am.
Oh, okay.
You
Oh, they're
guys.
going downstairs, guys. Hey guys, they're going downstairs.
Don't worry about it.
That's Jade job like a
Let's go.
balloon. I know. Oh shoot! Yeah. I didn't.
Hey, you want to set up a body cannon? I mean, you
Yeah.
go right ahead.
How do I do it?
You pull the string.
There you go.
Say, oh, let your play.
So
I just wanna
awesome.
like be.
Yeah.
So make sure no one steps on me, okay?
Say hello to my
Reach down there for a
balloon.
minute.
Swing.
It's gonna be the greatest
Hey, let's
stuff
take some
anyone could ever
downstairs.
hope for.
Watch out, Teddy. Watch out. I know, I see her. Hey, let's bury. Hey, should we bury you?
Yeah, bury me,
Bury
bury me.
her in latex.
Oh wow, they're all the way down there.
That's
Bury her.
awesome.
Done. Put some under the arm. 2, 3. Fire the hole.
Really?
Fire the hole. 4,
Done.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
You know what?
10. Uh-oh. 11.
Jesus.
Are there any more?
Oh, there's more.
Oh no, it's fine. I thought Runa's dress is fine off.
Oh, there
Cover your flank.
Alright, ready?
Oh.
There it goes.
You need to get in front of me if we're gonna do that.
Teddy.
You okay?
What, does she need help?
Yes.
I got
No, I was just gonna,
me
I was
guess.
gonna pull you down
Oh.
if you were sideways. I was gonna pull you directly
Oh,
like,
yeah.
over me. I didn't want that to happen.
I was gonna help out from behind.
No, we good.
No.
Is that it?
I am a professional person lifter.
Yes, that's good. That's good.
If there's anything I do good, it's lifting people.
I don't think.
I need a high vantage point.
You didn't
I
say
don't think
anything.
you could lift me.
I need a high vantage point for this.
Yeah. This is
Another one.
awesome.
Oh,
Yes.
One.
productive.
2, 3,
How many's in there?
go!
At least 1,000.
Oh,
Right,
good
it's
try,
hard.
Steven.
Oh.
Three.
Yes, you are. Good luck.
Wow.
Way to go, Yogi Saw! You saved the day! I'm coming, Yogi Saw!
Well, let's go. Balloon.
Stop doing that.
Black balloon. Whoa.
Cannon!
Wow.
Why does it not just done?
I wonder if you
Hey,
put this one
Hey, you want to buy another one? I'll pop one with you at the same time. Five. Not in here, is there?
Yeah.
No, I said oh.
This is absurd.
I know, right?
Okay, ready?
You know what else is absurd?
3, 2, 1.
Yeah!
It's back! Yeah!
I know, right?
Confetti!
Confetti and balloons.
Nice.
Okay, get it up, turn!
I thought there was enough displacement.
Hey, Bob,
No.
Hey, Bob. There's never enough display.
No,
Never.
no.
Hey, Bob, look
No,
downstairs.
Oh my god!
We should have just sent them downstairs.
There we go. Whoa!
I'm looking downstairs. It's like it was so many quarters you had to get behind the big
Yeah.
The best I can do on short.
Oh, that's okay.
I'll get back.
Fine.
Have
This
another
is so awesome.
Hey, Chippy, look over here.
My other hand.
That's the balloons.
Oh my god.
That's
So
awesome.
many. You want to go down here and have some chaos?
Sink.
Who's
How
one
do
in
you
the
choose
sink?
it to belly?
There's one in the sink.
I just want like a great big
Yeah, what balloon?
Whoa.
Oh no, it knocked out the trash can. Oh my god.
Whoa. This is so awesome, huh? Whoa. This is so awesome. There you go. Yeah. Oh,
Wait,
yeah.
Who has a camera? Who has a camera on their phone right now?
Oh, shoot.
Can I take your picture?
Yeah. Whoa.
Hey, someone get the room.
Hold on. Wait, hold on.
So much confetti. Pops, you just see confetti blast
Please
up.
drop it in SamWow and pin it if you get a chance.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Isn't it great?
Oh my.
This will be on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. You can also subscribe to my channel. Like, comment, subscribe.
Downstairs.
No, don't send them downstairs.
Yeah, no, do what Pinky says.
Already.
Do what Pinky says. Send them downstairs.
You have enough already.
Hi, Father.
We really want to clean up 3 floors.
I'm good.
Wait, 3.
3.
Now.
Yep.
2.
Yeah, but really, where's the boom?
Yep, yep.
No. Where is
Don't you wish you were here?
Oh,
you deflected my
Sweet
Yeah, we're having a balloon
Oh, there it is.
thing.
Yeah, somebody lost a bunch of channels. Whoops.
Don't you wish you were here? Isn't it? You're missing out.
I need to hit that one with enough force to both the other one.
Alright.
Keep happening, Lord.
No. Alright, I'll talk to you when you get home. Bye.
Oh my god.
I love it.
I sit
I
here.
don't think there's this many.
Like I always.
Festival.
Yeah!
Just like, Elon. Don't jab your fellow brony. Wait for my mark.
And just bumping.
You're gonna pop the balloons.
So, yep. Just like every balloon festival, we have to do with fireworks. But because fireworks inside is a little dangerous, we're gonna do this, just sound play.
Alright.
On 1, just go at it. Ready? 3, 2, 1, fire!
Yeah.
some out under here.
Look at this big, awesome.
Oh, sweet baby Jesus. Oh, you missed one. Under the chair.
What the heck is that?
Did we get the one that was in the sink?
Oh, yeah, that's been going. Downstairs, get the rest of them. Oh!
Oh, a survivor! Where's the little baby?
Survivors! Bring it up, survivors!
Holy shaggies! Oh my god! This is a heart-shaped balloon.
Shit.
You okay?
It's a heart-shaped piece of rubber.
Yeah, sure. There you go. Let's have fun. Name this up.
Hang on. Rob. Oh, wow, that didn't work. Ouch.
That was it?
Yeah, perfect. Good job, Steven.
Ooh, that was intense.
Hot day. I love Cossack exams.
Yeah.
We're
gonna be watching a really shitty movie.
Please, Sam.
Sam?
We got distracted looking for the
Wow, that's so pretty. Go get the water, Sam, right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ooh. Well, we're definitely not doing this with a fire pit. Whoa! Whoa! Whoa, watch it. Whoa! Careful! I think that's one. I think there's one more. Or I think it's done. Yeah, one more. Whoa! Whoa!
That's so awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the woohoo.